Hi, I'm Camilla Blossom, and this whole year I've been going around meeting with different groups of friends and people I connect with because of the Amanita muscaria mushroom. And I want to tell you a fairy story about my connection with it, talk about that mushroom and the medicine it carries and how we can work with it very safely and explore the way that it can heal the sense of homesickness. So welcome. The Amanita, as you may know, is the red mushroom we see that has the white spots. And it is a classic in fairy literature, in our culture, at Christmas time as a magical mushroom, right? As one that really carries a lot of beautiful energy, magic, healing, blessings. It also has a reputation of being a poison, and you do not want to eat it. And there's good reason for being safe. There are kinds of Amanita, not muscaria, that are poisonous. And like any mushroom or any plant, you really need to know what you're dealing with. So just that safety consideration to begin with. But what I'd like to do to begin with is share my fairy story. Let's see how that wants to stay up there. So we have the wind behind it. So about 15 years ago, I was at an amazing, beautiful waterfall called Panther Creek Falls. And it's one that I always felt very home there. Like I felt like I've lived here before. One time I went with a friend and we were leaving. And he says, we have to go, it's getting dark. And I started to cry. I said, this is my home. Because I didn't want to leave. But I did. And what happened during this time was, as a flower essence maker, I've been out to a lot of different places in the forests of Washington and Oregon, mostly, but other places as well, making flower essences. And one of the ways you make them, or the way you make them, is by putting a bowl, glass bowl, onto the ground, to the earth, and then putting flower petals or dipping flowers in them and creating that way. Well, on this day, I'm leaning against a really old growth cedar tree, and it's this gorgeous cedar, and just relaxing and feeling its medicine. It's always teaching me that we have a wisdom body like the tree does, that we can know what's going on around the world and on the earth through connecting in with the cedar's wisdom body. So I'm leaning against a tree, and then I hear these voices coming towards me, and they're like, Camilla, we have a gift for you. We have something for you. I was like, okay. And through my perception, my imagination, intuition, I could perceive a fairy and gnome. And they were encouraging me to come with them, to fly and journey with them back through the waterfall into this portal, which was like a black place you could journey into in this waterfall. And so I went back with them, and they said, no humans come here. So I felt very honored, and also maybe not totally human in the moment. And then they brought out this Amanita, this massive Amanita mushroom, red with the white spots, and they were carrying it. And I said, oh, do you need help? And they said, no, we have it. So all these fairies and gnomes surrounded this mushroom. This is all in the ethers, in the journey time, the dream time. And they flew with me back out of the portal and went back to where I was sitting in my body on the ground. And they said, put your bowl out before you on the ground, like you make essences. So I did that, and they proceeded to make an essence, a mushroom essence, and they called it mystic mushroom. It is the Amanita essence. And I sat and allowed, I completely let go of control, surrendered, and allow the fairies, the gnomes, the spirits there to make this essence. And what I could see was, and I see this quite often working with nature and the realms, is this suggestion of light. And they were weaving these circles of light and this magic around the bowl and dancing and creating like sacred geometry with their dance and their song and their frequencies and energies to really infuse the water in this bowl with the essence of the Amanita. And so I just sat there and enjoyed this amazing experience. And then all of a sudden it was done. They were like, okay, we infused the water with the Amanita, with the mystic mushroom, and it's our gift to you. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. So I asked them, what is this for? And they told me it's for homesickness. And I just sat with that. I could feel kind of, you might feel this too, just me talking about it, this kind of sadness. And yeah, I'm like homesickness for our homelands, or homesickness for being in the forest all the time, or for places to live, or that deep connection that our ancestors or we've had, or we still have, but want deeper with the earth, right? With Mother Earth. But I didn't go into too much of what that meant at the time. I just felt it. And bottled up the essence, the home, the mother essence, as they're called, and brought that home. And I kind of put it away. It felt like I just need to integrate the experience and wait till it was time to work with the actual essence. And then it was a few months later, I was at the time doing healing fairs down at Yachats, Oregon with my helper, Carrie. And at the end of the show, I said, oh, I made this essence. And so I told her the story. And then we both took some. And immediately, I don't know who did what, but one of us went whoosh and traveled deep into the center of our heart. The other one went whoosh, way out into the cosmos. And it just felt like we went back home. I'm like, oh, this is all about home. This is the Amanita, and there's this sense that it's healing this sense of home, and the homesickness that they told me it was for. But then we recognized that we were laughing hysterically, which we did a lot of anyway, but we were really laughing, and people that were packing up the show were like, what are you guys on here? And we were like, oh, we just took an essence. But it was very strong. It was actually psychedelic in its effects. It was like going on a psychedelic journey with mushrooms. And I was having hallucinations, pictures of like more deep connection with seeing flowers, and kind of went to the beach, and we were going to some different places after the show so we could actually drive, but it was extremely altered. And I realized that I had asked the fairy realms about this in the past too. I had this desire to, or I asked them, is it possible, because I'm a flower essence maker, to make a flower or some kind of essence where you actually have very altered or psychedelic experience? I just had that thought. Oh, wouldn't that be interesting? You know, there's all these beautiful plant medicines that we work with, I've worked with, but that do, you know, take us on these journeys, these very deep psychedelic journeys. But I was curious, because essences can be very gentle. They can also be very powerful. But my experience was not as much journeying. But here I was, definitely on a psychedelic journey from taking mystic mushroom essence that the fairies and gnomes gave me. So they were probably laughing pretty hard the whole time at us humans. And, you know, it never was repeated. We, you know, I had my friend take it and he said, oh, he felt kind of rubbery, but, and he's sort of an expert in all that world, and tried it, you know, other ways, but it never really had that effect, although it did have other effects. So that was that, and amazing experience that I shared and continue to share for a lot of years. But more recently, this last fall, I was called to take an Amanita course. It was a woman that was a student of Amanita Dreamer who was teaching it, Amy, and it was to show you the ways you could safely work with Amanita. That includes smoking and microdosing and making sure it's Amanita muscaria and that you're getting it from a good source. And so I took the course and I smoked it and I did microdosing, I still do. And from there, that's in the beginning, I was talking about sharing it. I just feel this huge desire, and that's why I'm doing this video, to share this medicine with more people. And even if it's not like that you smoke it or microdose or whatever, but that this energy is getting out there, that just me telling you these stories is bringing this medicine in for you, that this Amanita, this grandmother, this goddess, however you see the spirit of this particular mushroom, is very much home. It brings that sense of home. And I was talking to a young man and his girlfriend about it one time, and we didn't even have a present. But I do tend to kind of carry that medicine when I work with the plants and the mushrooms and things. You know, when we work with it, we actually carry that as part of our medicine too. So just talking to him about it, he started crying and talking about missing home, this place he used to live. And it turned out it was near Issaquah in Washington, where I had some experiences with the fairy and the gnomes, and just really missed it too. So it's interesting to see how Amanita is healing us all the time. So yeah, invite her in. So what I wanted to share a little more about is the ways I've been using her, using that medicine, and invite you to learn more. Amanita Dreamer is a beautiful resource for a lot of safe ways to work with Amanita. But when I started working with it, I'll share a little bit about that with you. Our first thing was to process the mushroom and then smoke some. So we learned to scrape off the gills and use the dried mushroom, chop it up. I use a coffee grinder and then smoke that. And it's not about getting high. This medicine is not like a psychotropic, like taking mushrooms, even though you can take them and not feel like the psychotropic or psychedelic effects. This one's even milder, although working with larger doses, of course, is a different experience, but working with the smaller, the microdose or the smoking is very gentle. And so when I smoked it for the first time, it just felt like I just got so happy. I just felt very happy. And I felt like, oh, I'm home. I felt home in my body. I felt like I loved my home where I live. I really cultivate that all the time for myself. I have a lot of planets in the 4th house. So there's a real emphasis for me on home and my ancestors and that kind of energy, wherever I am creating that. And so it just felt like this very strong sense of home, like healing that. And then I got this in me to go around and clean the house. And so I bought all these cleaning supplies that I hadn't gotten around to doing, and really did this thorough cleaning, like right away after smoking the Amanita muscaria, cleaning and cleansing my whole place. And it just felt like really bringing a lot of beautiful, fresh energy in and clearing out the old and really honoring that sense of home. And when I work with, in the work that I do, I work a lot with the fairy realms and the spirits of home and land and guardians and devas and elementals. And so I also felt that the Amanita was really working with my home deva and the spirit's place and bringing in that very sacred sense of home. So the smoking was really wonderful. And then afterwards, I went on the group chat for the course I took, and I shared my experience. And then all of a sudden, all these other people said, "Oh my God, I had the same thing. I had to clean my house. I had to clear out old clutter. I had to do all this stuff with my home." And so I just had such a interesting, connection with that sense of home. But then something deeper started to come in. I did start microdosing, which is making a tea, boiling the mushroom caps and reducing them, and then just taking a little, a teaspoon, a really small amount, and putting them in a bigger cup of tea, and then having that at night. And so that became a really beautiful way to sleep and dream. And what I recognized too, as I worked with this, that this experience I had in the past and this experience now, working with like the very physical aspects of this plant, or this mushroom, this fungi, it was like the magic of this experience of the essence, and then the magic of this experience of really embodying it, and it coming together over this span of, I don't know, 10, 15 years, whatever that was, where it's like, oh, this is like a really important mushroom for us to bring our attention to. We're at a really key point where feeling home or connecting with our home, finding belonging is so strong, but not just in a spiritual sense, but now in this time, it's 2023 when I make this, like grounding and embodying and being, bringing your spirit all the way in your body. And this is especially true for starseeds, light workers. I am one too. We really need to bring all that spirit, all that magic, all that cosmic energy all the way down into our body and make deep connection with Gaia, the soul of Mother Earth. And so I think there's a real call to people who've emphasized so much the spirit, to get grounded, to get in our bodies, to really know what home is, to feel home on this planet, because it will get harder and harder to be here if we don't have that sense of home. And so part of that sense of home for me and the people that I tend to connect with, which means you, if you're watching this, is that many of us are like hybrid humans. We carry a lot of star seeds and energy from the planets, but also like the ancestors, the star beings, like the fairy race, the star beings who are the ancestors of the fairy realm, of the realms that take care of nature, of the devas, of the gnomes, of the ones that are part of this mycelium network, that are part of this earth. So there's this beautiful connection and merging that's going on, that's happening inside each one of us. And some of it's composting and clearing out, burning out, kind of these old ways we thought about ourselves. But it's just such an important time for us to connect with the fairy realm, or connect with Gaia, connect with earth, the trees, the waters, like anything, everything to do with nature. And whether you're like me, wanting to go in and really connect deeply with the dragon realms or the elementals, you can do it in any way that you see fit. That's part of your consciousness and way of connecting. But this mushroom really is, whether that's just having pictures of it and meditating with it. I have created another essence. So I do have the mystic mushroom as mushroom essence that you can take drops of under your tongue and just bring that energy in, People make tinctures. My friend makes salves and or creams with amanita, some for pain, some for healing. It has huge amount of healing potential and things that it's helped people with. And when I was working with a woman who was really opening her fairy wings, opening to that hybrid part of herself. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to talk about a little more. She was asking, she came with me at the Fairy Congress and shared some of the smoking of amanita. And then I worked with her opening more to the fairy realm, to who she is, and seeing that vibration of her wings and her wings coming forth and her clearing of the persecution and the past lives that were kind of keeping her from that full expression. And so we all have a lot of healing to do in that way, especially us hybrids that are, you know, part dragon, part fairy queen, part gnome, part sylph, or air elemental, you know, whatever we are in essence elemental, you know, we are fire, earth, air, and water is what we are created of. And we are nature too. But there is many of us that carry a lot of codes and remembering of being, you know, a tree, being a deva of roses, or being a dragon. I've had many experiences of, or animals, you know, being different kinds of beings. And that's part of who we are as human. It's important for our purpose to remember and be and fully express our natural selves. So I know that was a lot of sharing. Just want to spend a moment and invite you to open more. We'll open to, I like calling her grandmother, Grandmother Amanita, and inviting her. I can just feel her. You may feel her. This is how I experience her, very gentle but encompassing. And it's like, imagine this smoke going all around. And then when I did take, or this woman asked about the microdosing, if that'd be good for her, I could really feel a lot of energy in the pelvic bowl, like it was helping to dissolve and clear and heal in the pelvic bowl, which for women is a huge place of healing, especially that lineage healing as women and women's bodies. But yeah, inviting the Amanita, and we'll just ask her to come into each of us, bring her frequency, her love, her medicine, her guidance. And maybe open, is this a medicine for you to welcome in? Is there a desire to claim your fairy roots, your lineage with working with elementals, being part of this unseen magical world of the Fae, of the gnomes, of the she, the fairy race? A lot of this was cut off because of Christianity and pagan split. So there's been a lot of persecution and fear, taboos, ridicule and shame if you are opening. So we'll just let that go and invite, because this medicine feels like she wants us to really feel safe and held and celebrate our Fae, fairy, elemental nature. We've been taught that can be childish as well. So I as well am learning, you know, I teach and write about it, just wrote a book about it, I have cards. There's still this way of allowing ourselves to have full permission. She wants us to have full permission. This is the time now to open our wings, to open our heart, to open ourselves and receive the wisdom, these frequencies, And it's almost like this feeling, I think a lot of us who are doing a lot of spiritual work or have for a long time or really deeply more recently, that you recognize that you're in a dream, like this life really is a dream, the same way when you go on a ayahuasca or psilocybin, like when you're on a journey, a sacred journey of remembering, you start realizing, and you bring those back and integrate, you realize we are in a dream. And we have this ability to dream in, to dream forth, to co-create in our dream, in our life, in our world, and our planet, whatever it is that we wish to see. And so that mastery as a creator being that we are as humans is so important to focus on. And Amanita really wants us, she's like a grandmother that's watching over and like wants to teach her children, wants to teach me and us grandmothers in training as well, to claim that co-creative energy that we can create whatever it is we wish to see, and that we have a responsibility and obligation to step up and create, to create from that place of wholeness, of love, of light. And really allow the energy of your wings to fully open in whatever time frame you need for that. And also let the energy in through the back of your heart and your whole back body. Let the energy come in through the back body. There's a lot of emphasis on the front, but all that unconscious energy in the back body wants to come through and then be expressed out. And so some of this working with Amanita and this energy will help open you to your heart's desires, which live in the back, what you were passionate about as a child, and you really want to express that now because it's your dream. So bring that through right now. So she's doing an upgrade, an attunement, an up-leveling of us to step more into our authority, our power, our magic, our earth magic. Nice. And one of the things too that feels important to say as you receive all this is, when I started learning more about the Amanita, I realized there's a really ancient history that involves my ancestors. I have Irish and English, Celtic ancestry. And during the holy days, the sacred days like Samhain and the solstices, the equinoxes, the cross quarters days, there was a lot of celebration, and what was used was sacred wine. And wine in those days was not the same thing we consider wine. Wine in those days was a sacred substance that they would create all year long, and it had magical herbs in it, and it had Amanita in it, and it was part of the ceremony during those times that helped the visioning for the community, helped everyone collectively and individually open to the vision, open to the connection they have, to the fertility of the landscape, to the harvest, to the dark time of the winter. And it really brought forward this, this magical visionary journey time where everyone could go deeply and do this as a community. And so this medicine, the Amanita, was a very important substance. Some people consider like it's the lost secret ingredient, and that even nowadays or through time, like a lot of the Catholic priests would steal the colors and the look of the Amanita mushroom for their costume, for their robes, and that Santa Claus, and like a lot of there's a lot of evolution, distortions, and harmonious evolution of the Amanita through time. I know there's lots of different stories, and some say they're true, some say they don't. So just feel for yourself what's important. But I think for me, recognizing the sacred, that this sacred mushroom was part of the rituals of my ancestors. And so for me to have that experience with the Fae years ago at the waterfall, and then more recently to be working with the physical medicine when it's starting to come out in our culture as a safe mushroom if you use it, the proper one, and use it correctly, that it's a really powerful help to remember home, to remember our homelands, which are our ancestry, right? And so there's just a lot of magic here. And I just feel that the fairies and elementals are calling me to share it, like I said, because there is such important medicine and remembering for all of us here. And also that in a simple way, you know, besides all the healing, the deep healing and important healing, Amanita Dreamer on her site can share a lot about that and more information in general, that there's, for me, just a sense like of the happiness and joy, the simplicity of feeling home, the joy of feeling in home in my body, in my home, acceptance of what is in this moment. And so I invite you to continue to work with grandmother, goddess, the spirit, the Amanita, as we did here a little bit. And if you like to smoke or microdose, I've worked with a few higher doses, but not a lot yet. I'm going very slowly, gradually, but invite you to learn more and really honor this sacred medicine. And I just want to open up for a minute at the end here, if there's any other messages for you, or I'll check in for us from Amanita. And what I'm experiencing is this like grandmother who's very sad to see the homesickness. It's like a soul sickness in our world right now. There is a deep, abiding soul sickness among many. And so the more those of us who are healed, or in this process of really finding home, holding home, that sense of belonging, that sense of home, especially with all the chaos and hardship and such, that we are like ambassadors of Amanita. We are ambassadors of home. We are lighthouses. We are like those beautiful mushrooms in the forest. If you find one in the forest, it's like, whoa, it's the most magical thing ever to find them. So yeah, so I think now's the time to heal, to bring this medicine forth for the homesickness that's prevalent. And yeah, this last bit, let's just imagine that frequency, that medicine showering out to the earth, all around the planet, and filling those who need that wish to call that forth. And just take a couple deep breaths and let yourself really integrate and align with Mama Earth's crystalline grid below, the sun grid above, your own grid. Let you ground in each of the directions and the elements, earth, air, fire, and water, east, west, and north, south. And just allow yourself to really receive the Amanita. So thank you for joining me. If you'd like to learn more, feel free to reach out. And I have been sharing it with lots of people lately and noticing the beautiful results. I was just last night with a group in Oregon, and it ended up being like a little home blessing, sharing my stories and the Amanita. And if that's something you'd like to do at your home, on your land, with your community. And of course, I do land alchemy work as well with the fairy realms and the ancestors of land. So if there's a call to connect more with what I'm doing, definitely subscribe to this channel, but reach out to me at CamillaBlossom.com. So thank you so much.